This is Governor Bobber. I like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Go.
You're watching Dr. Politics.
They're Dr. Politics. He's the one to see. Breaking down the news with sharp analysis. From Congress halls to campaign trails, he tells the truth when all else fails. They're Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. Exposing the spin, the lies and tricks. Dr. Politics. Dr. Politics. He calls it straight, no politics as usual. Love from backroom deals to primetime fights. He sheds some light and sets things right. Debates, elections, policy. He cuts through all the DC sleaze. Oh, Dr. Politics. He's got the facts. Dr. Politics. No holding back. Dr. Politics. Go away. Dr. Politics, he's got the facts. Dr. Politics, no holding back. Dr. Politics.
Hey, welcome everyone. It is Friday, August 15th, 2025. Welcome to the show. We're about to have a special doctor join us today, a candidate for U.S. Congress in Maryland's 6th District. That district has changed a lot, Dave. When Roscoe Bartlett first got elected to that seat in 92,
Yep.
it did not even come into Montgomery County. It was all across the northern expanse of Maryland, from Cumberland to somewhere in Carroll County, or maybe all of Carroll County back then.
Yeah.
And then the first district came up, which was then held by Wayne Gilchrist,
Yeah.
a very, very bad congressman.
Yeah. Very liberal Republican.
Yeah,
was
he
his
made Connie.
His was the first. His was Eastern Shore.
He was,
wasn't
yeah, he was Maryland 1. Yeah,
it? All right.
he made Connie Morello look like a right-wing extremist. That's how.
Yeah,
liberal
that's
he
right.
was.
I didn't think that was possible, but you're right. Yeah.
He made, and yeah, he
Is he still with us?
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, and he
cool.
still lives on the shore too.
And voting Democrat, I'm sure.
Oh, he's a Democrat now.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne Gilchrist is now a registered Democrat, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's true. In Maryland, you have to register by party. But
Yep.
yeah, no. I assume there was a time when Gilchrist would vote conservative, but or Republican at least. But I guess
He voted for speaker, and that was about it.
Oh, really? Okay.
He was in the mold of Chris Shays, or
Yeah.
who, by the way, incidentally lives on the eastern shore of Maryland now,
Oh,
Connecticut
Chris Shays
senator.
does?
Yeah, from
You
Shays.
know, I must say, I gained some respect for Chris Shays when, during the lead up, was it to the Iraq War or something?
Mhm.
Shays, C-SPAN televised his town hearing. And I got to give Shays credit. He stood up on principle. I mean, he was very much pro-Israel, very much against the what the left was advocating at the
Chris.
time. But he did stand
Mhm.
on principle, and he stood up to a lot of the constituents that were coming after him. So
Yeah,
I
but
give him credit for that.
you remember Shays Meehan? I lost all respect for him when he went into full-on campaign finance. Welcome to the
Oh,
show,
okay.
Chris Burnett, candidate for U.S. Congress. You're on mute right now, just letting you know. You can unmute yourself at any time.
I didn't want to interrupt, but thanks for letting me join in tonight.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
welcome. You're running for Congress in CD6. We were just talking about how CD6 has changed a lot since
Well,
Roscoe Bartlett represented the district in 1992.
You know,
Back then, it didn't even touch Montgomery County.
You know, may I also to add to the history of it, at least anecdotally, what I'd heard. Remember, you had Alex in the state senate, and you had Bartlett had a son. I think it was Joe,
Mhm.
And Joe and Alex were thought of as maybe either one of them potentially taking the seat when Bartlett retired. That's the scuttlebutt that I remember all those years ago.
Oh, you don't remember 2012, Dave?
No, no.
That was the year Roscoe lost, but that was the year Alex Mooney was going to jump in and run for that CD6 seat. But then he found out Roscoe wasn't retiring, so he got behind Roscoe.
Okay.
And then you had our one of Larry Hogan's cabinet secretaries. He jumped in that year. I think we had everyone and their cousin
against Roscoe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, everyone and their cousin was running. We had Roscoe. He won the primary, obviously, but you had what is his name? He was a senator from Frederick County. I'm trying to think of his name. David. Give me a second. I'll find his name.
The only senator from Frederick I knew was Mooney, but
no, I mean, we had other Republicans from Frederick County. You know, we still do. I mean, we've got but he was in there. Robin Ficker ran in CD6.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In 2012, Robin ran in 2012. There was another guy, Joe Christoforski. He ran.
Okay.
There was I want to say there was at least about 8 or 9 candidates running in CD6.
Okay.
And when you have that many people,
ended up I'd forgotten that history. So he ended up losing, I guess. 2012 may have been a bad Republican year, but
that was Mitt Romney was at the top of the ticket. He lost to John Delaney.
Okay.
It brings us to Mrs. Delaney.
That's right.
On it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also the first round of gerrymandering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was Roscoe got gerrymandered out.
Yeah. They brought his district deep into Montgomery County.
Yeah. That's good.
And here's the thing. Republicans never learn. I mean, Connie Morella, they took her district into PG County so they could beat her.
Okay.
And then when Van Hollen and it came time to redistrict, they moved all of District 8 back into Montgomery County.
Okay.
So you're still on mute, Chris.
No, I know. I
thought you were saying something. You're on mute.
No.
So yeah,
and my history has been fascinating as I've had a chance to now tour across CD6, and I'm reminded of the gerrymandering that has shaped CD6 really going back to Roscoe. And then we saw that again in 2020. And to Neil's credit, they got it reset where at least now it's competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, did Bongino run in that district?
Bongino ran 14 and lost by 1,200 votes.
In the 6th?
Yes. If he had run again, he probably would have won.
Okay. All right.
But he didn't. He moved to Florida, and the rest is history. He's now deputy FBI director.
Yeah.
Because, he ran for Senate in Maryland in 2012, Dan Bongino.
I remember that.
And his friend Brian Murphy, who ran against Bob Ehrlich in 2010 for governor, brought him onto the stage, so to speak.
All right. Okay.
Well, hopefully we can get him up here for a fundraiser or two if they'll let him out of the FBI.
Well, he's FBI. I think because he's FBI, they're not going to let him do.
I guess the Hatch Act, maybe. Can you?
No, I think cabinet secretaries are, I think, immune from that because we have Lee Zeldin speaking at the Red, White, and Blue dinner.
All right.
It usually has to do with the compensation aspect of it, but they can do things in their personal capacity, or in some cases they can do it in their official capacity. You just can't receive any compensation.
Yeah. And I remember when I was in high school, the year before, members of Congress they would have an honorarium, and then they changed the rules so sitting members couldn't take an honorarium. And I got Connie Mack to be the commencement speaker to agree to do it. Then because he was a Republican, my liberal high school decided no, we're not going to have Connie Mack. We're going to have Paul Berry, who's also a Republican, which I thought was funny. He used to do the Consumer Report on Channel 7.
Oh, yeah, I remember him,
So Paul Berry, good Republican also.
I didn't realize that about him.
Yeah.
Dennis Ketterer, who was the weatherman, didn't he run?
He ran against Connie Morella
Okay, all right.
and lost.
Okay. Wasn't he kind of the moderate Democrat? I thought he was kind of a moderate, I thought.
Well, back then, yeah. I mean, if you compare it to Democrats today, even Terry
Yeah.
Lehrman, our illustrious comptroller who thinks trees keep you safe from crime. And I don't know about you, Chris, but the only way a tree is going to keep me safe from crime is if I'm on the other side of it and somebody's shooting a bullet at it to stop the bullet from hitting me.
Yeah, that's true. If you hide behind it.
You take the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But Terry Lehrman was considered a moderate Democrat.
All right.
But now, there's no room in the Democrat Party for moderates anymore. Look what they do to moderate Democrats. I mean,
I think it seems to me the last moderate Democrat was American Joe Medashevsky.
No, in Maryland, I mean, William Donald Schaefer was a moderate Democrat. Governor Mandel, moderate Democrat. Actually, more like conservative Democrat.
Okay.
He was probably more conservative than Spiro Agnew was.
Oh, wow. The Saint Spiro.
Yeah. And I mean, Maryland Democrats, Chris, you may not believe this, but I mean, you've only been living here, what, 10, 15 years in Maryland?
Actually, 4 years. So I came here on orders in 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay.
COVID. Yeah, I came off my last deployment and I had orders to the Pentagon. So I arrived in 2021 in Montgomery County. I think I've mentioned there were people driving in their cars by themselves wearing 2 masks.
Yes, I've seen that. You know, that is crazy. And people with earbuds in their cars. And I was like, that's just an accident waiting to happen. And I see bikers with earbuds, like those. If anybody really needs to be paying attention to surrounding traffic and noise, is a biker, I think. But as I was saying, is Maryland Democrats took the hard left turn when Paris Glendening got elected governor in 1994 when they stole it from Ellen Saubre.
That's right. Yeah.
And
remember, Glendening was the last white county executive from PG County.
Yeah, but then again, here's the thing. They'll vote for a white Democrat as long as they're liberal in PG County. People said that about Montgomery County when Ike Leggett became county executive. We'll never have there'll never be another white county executive, And I'm saying, hey, white, black, brown, what difference does it make? They're all going to be just as very liberal. And actually, Ike Leggett was more conservative than Mark Elrick.
Yeah, probably.
There was a time when the Democrats all hated Ike Leggett because he was too conservative for them.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, so Maryland's got a very interesting history with gerrymandering and all that. And here is something really cool. I wish the Supreme Court, and this is all the Democrats' fault. I like to blame the Democrats for this too. Maryland, Chris, used to be like the United States. Each county would have one senator, and the delegates were done by proportion.
Yeah. That's like Virginia. Virginia had something similar.
But then what happened in 1970, the redistrict of 1970, Maryland got another congressional seat, and the Democrats just couldn't figure out where to carve this new seat out. So they made it an at-large congressman.
Yeah, that's right.
Maryland, you had 2 senators, your congressman, and this at-large congressman.
So this has been a fascinating learning curve for me. I came here. I just came off active duty. So I've lived all over the country. I've lived in California, I've lived in Florida, lived in Hawaii, Virginia. Maryland is by far the strangest place that I've ever lived. It's the most expensive place I've ever lived in terms of the nickel and dime effect on families. And I can tell you that California is expensive and a lot of fees and regulation. Florida has its own set, but Maryland really, it wears you out in terms of car registration, the recent fishing licenses, hunting licenses, emissions testing. So it's amazing. When I got off after duty, we made the decision to stay. And that was part of my decision to run. There was just no way I could stay on the sideline of all of this nonsense, if not trying to influence it or try to effectuate some kind of change.
And this is before we're going to have the rumor is there's going to be a special session in September for 1 week. And you know what that session is going to be for? To up the sales tax from 6% to 7%. But the Democrat, it's only a penny on. Yeah, it's a penny on every dollar. It's they're put as Sarah Palin would say, you're putting lipstick on a pig there. Frankly,
Yeah.
A penny. Yeah, a penny for every dollar. I don't think so. That's the whole percentage.
But the thing is, to Chris's point, it just all adds up, and you keep people in isolation. It seems small, but when you add up all your other taxes and fees, well, it's not small. So
That's exactly right.
it actually becomes fairly significant money.
I mean, if you also insurance rates for everyone in Maryland has gone up. Excuse me, have gone up this year for everyone.
Yeah.
So I thought Florida was bad because there's a lot of uninsured drivers, but my exact same policy that I had in Florida when I got orders here, my insurance went up by about 30% just by registering my vehicles in Maryland.
And Florida's and Florida's a no fault state, which means you pay whether it's your fault or not.
Part of the high prices were that there's so many uninsured drivers. There's a high rate of accidents, a lot of internationals that travel there. And I thought Florida was the worst place for insurance. Well, then I arrived in Maryland and everything went up.
Oh, let me tell you, here we have, when I was about before the pandemic in 2019 in the spring. And I was leaving NASA and on the BW Parkway, I know right as the Beltway comes, there's always a backup. So, I'm slowing down. Behind me, somebody in a Camry, they did not even stop. Because one of the people that worked at NASA saw the whole thing happen, and they go, and when I got out, my bumper was trashed. It fell, it was off and stuff like that, right? I'm looking at the car. I first think, hey, looks like a Corolla hit me. Then I go around the back, it's a Camry. And it is one of the oddest things of all. And these people, they didn't speak English. I asked, hey, can we exchange insurance information? They refused to do that. The ambulance comes and they all scurry away in the ambulance. So I'm sitting there. Their car is just left there. Wow. I'm waiting there for the park police because it's the park police's jurisdiction. Because I called 911 and they go, oh, you got to call the park police. I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't, this is an accident, So if somebody was murdered on the BW Parkway, would it be the jurisdiction of the park police and not you guys? So if somebody called you, would you not be able to respond? And that's just one of my qualms with the park police.
So what happened? You think, not to just take away too much from our conversation?
I mean, basically, yeah.
Were they here illegally, but they left the car?
Yeah, they left the car. I don't know if they were here illegally or not, but
was it stolen? Maybe it was a stolen car.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a stolen car. But this is what I found out. When I got out, I thought the man was driving.
Yeah.
My friend who works over there at NASA, he goes, "Oh no, the woman was looking down, texting. She didn't even stop. Okay. Your car was her brake. She hit me so fast, and I had a big Yukon.
Yeah.
She hit so hard, my car was pushed into another car in front of me. But that guy didn't even bother to stop. I guess, it really didn't do any damage to his car.
Man.
But she just went wham. Yeah.
But they left the car. Yeah. They're gonna get caught. The police are going to catch up with them, right? I assume.
Well, basically, evidently they had like the bare bones insurance, the minimum amount you need to have.
Okay.
So at least my car repairs, I didn't have to pay a deductible or anything like that. But it's kind of a nerve. And after they fixed the car up, but after they fixed it, it just didn't feel right. So that's why I bought the other Yukon after that. But anyways, but as like I told you, Chris, we go all over the board on this. So a couple things in the news today. We had the President Trump's in Alaska. I think the summit should be just ending about now, or halfway through the summit right about now.
I guess so. I saw them arrive. That was a few hours ago. And Trump said in the first few minutes he's going to realize whether this is worth his time or not. So
yeah. I mean, I think what's,
You know
I
what?
mean,
Can I just add, for me, it's interesting. I think we all know this intellectually, but having the summit in Alaska reminds us all that we share a border with Russia. A lot of times people think Canada, Mexico, but we also share a border with Russia. So,
Sarah Palin could see Russia from her kitchen.
yeah. But she never said, not to again digress, but that was, I don't know if it was Saturday Night Live or someone, she actually never really said, I can see Russia from my house. She actually never really said that, but that was treated as if she really did. And I don't know who started that, but she didn't say that.
Well, you know how the left is; they like
I
to
know.
make stuff up.
Yeah.
But so what are your thoughts on this whole thing? What do we do if, say, Putin walks away and says no deal? Do we double down and give Ukraine everything they need to expel the Russians?
Well, I think not to interrupt, but I think you sanction Russia hard, even probably through secondary sanctions. And I know there's not much of an appetite to continue to fund Ukraine, but I don't know what else we can do. We'll have to help them out some way. Maybe get the Europeans to do most of it, but we'll probably have to help out some way financially. Just like
What are your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. I think that we've made it very difficult for Russia to continue. I mean, they've really hurt themselves for the foreseeable future, and so it's by continuing to put pressure on them, you're just further you're making it more difficult for them to continue to try to rebuild or position themselves as a global power again. And I think we've also done a better job of bringing in our European allies to have them take on some of the responsibility of funding this and in providing the equipment and the materials that are needed for this. So my hope is that they can broker a deal and that we can bring this to an end. But I do think it's going to require Zelensky to come to the table and make some concessions that he's just not prepared to make right now. But outside of further sanctions, I think that we're going to have to continue on the course that we're on, which is give Ukraine enough to sustain this, to continue to make Russia pay the price. But I don't see us escalating beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the big problems is I really look. I've always, there's no secret. I've always thought we need to be supporting Ukraine. They're the good guys in this, not the Russians. The Russians are the bad guys. He wants to because you know what happens if he's successful in Ukraine, his next move is he'll go into Poland. He'll go into the other former Soviet republics. I mean, he already tried once to go into Georgia during the Obama administration.
Yeah, they stopped him at Macon.
As far as they've lost so many men and so much materials, and they lack the capacity to rebuild their war machine. Even if that was his intent, I think they've gone all in a way that has prevented them from going any further. That could be naive. I haven't read any intelligence reports, but I think they're so overextended and overinvested in Ukraine that if that had been his original plan, that's off the table.
Yeah, I mean, he emptied out the gulags to go fight. If it were, I wonder if there are any Russians driving around with bumper stickers that say Ukraine is Cyrillic for Afghanistan.
I don't know that anybody saw Ukraine lasting this long. I mean, they've punched so far above their weight. It's almost incredible to think that this is still going on.
Yeah, experts were saying they're gonna go down in about 7 days, and then the Ukrainians will probably mount like an insurgency campaign, like the IRA in Northern Ireland, to expel the British Empire from Ireland. It'd be that type of scenario where every now and then they'll blow something up, and that'll be the kind of like the bleeding ulcer for Russia, kind of like how Spain was for Napoleon Bonaparte, where he never really got a foothold in Spain. He had to deal with the guerrilla factions and so on, even though he put his nephew in charge of Spain.
I was at the Pentagon when this happened. And so we were getting real-time intelligence updates and briefings. We thought this was going to be over in a week. And I think there was at least an expectation that parts of Ukraine would welcome the Russians, that this would not have been a hard-fought battle and certainly not had lasted as long as it has to this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, This also then raises the problem for Putin because it's hard for him to come away with nothing either because they've lost 800 something thousand men, a lot of money, years, and
Yep.
what it's just like, how's he going to sell it when he ends it? And he'll get some concessions on land and stuff, but even still, I mean, it doesn't seem like a victory. I mean, just because he got a little bit of land for all that.
Well, what are your thoughts on it? And I think I should say we spoke about this offline. What do you think as far as, I don't know that he's thinking in terms of immediate gains. On some level, I think Putin sees him as the first modern czar, that he's competing for what is next over the next 100 years, as opposed to short-term gains. Because he sold the short-term economy, short-term standing down the river. So the only question is how does he salvage this and set the conditions for what he believes is next? Will he be remembered as the first modern czar or something in that capacity? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the thing is, I will add that, Russia's had a history of losing wars. Remember, you had the 1905, Russo-Japanese War, where they ended up losing, getting crushed, totally embarrassed. And then that probably Hitler saw that maybe and thought maybe it'd be an easier prey.
And Dave, the basically World War II, Hitler's invasion of Russia, if he had coordinated with the Japanese,
yeah,
the Russian, because what happened was, when they found out the Japanese were not going to invade, they moved their battle-hardened winter weather troops from all the way from the east all the way to the west, the Western Front. And that's when they started pushing the Germans back out, so to speak. Before, I mean, the Russians today are like the Ottoman Empire. They're dying. They're a dying empire. They can't sustain themselves. Honestly, if they had somebody like a Boris Yeltsin, you know what kind of a juggernaut their economy would be if they had like a Boris Yeltsin type leader, opposed to this despotic. And I think Putin will be known as a despot. He'll probably go down in history as the ways of Joe Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Khrushchev.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be viewed as a failure. Really, I mean, it's a failure. Unless some miracle happens, I think, and that's the tough thing for Putin. That's one of the reasons maybe it's hard for him to make a deal, because at this position he's in now, it's a failure.
And I can't help but think he's looking at the decoupling that's going on right now, the deglobalization. And I think this is a bit of a land grab so that he can shore up his defenses and pathways of invasion. But I think you're starting to see that we're moving towards more of a spheres of influence, hemispheric roles. And I think he saw an opportunity with the emergence of China that as we decouple, he's going to be less involved or less engaged in the global economy. So before that completely ends, he did a land grab. I mean, think about, there hasn't been wars of conquest in recent memory. This is the first time there was a land grab in an attempt to take over land and govern that land outside of, ISIS trying to establish the Levant. I mean, this is a contrary to what everything modern military strategy tells you to do. The hardest thing to do is conquer and hold, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. And my only thought is that he either drastically miscalculated, which is possible, or he's thinking this is what the next economy is going to look like 40 or 50 years down the road, and he wanted to position himself for that.
Yeah, but he's caused long-term damage, I think, for Russia, because in terms of turning his country into a pariah nation. So I guess he doesn't care about that, but
he's at day 1,270 today. That is where he is. That is a long. I mean, this war should have been over in 90 days. This war should have been totally over. But the fact that they had the javelins, and I understand Joe Biden was calling George Romney to triple the production of AMC javelins so he could send them to Ukraine. And I think George Romney asked what color, and he said, "I don't care the color, as long as he had confused the javelin car with the javelin missiles." That's a joke, but
Well,
it's
don't
a
send
funny one.
gremlins. That wouldn't be good. Or pintos. Or pintos.
As you know, it depends how you use the Pintos. They might be a good bomb.
I guess.
Have them run into the tanks backwards. Reverse and hit the tanks,
Wow. I'm gonna put armor on them.
or park the tanks, park the Pintos so the tanks run into them.
I
Some
think
battlefield innovation. Wow.
I think Putin's in a tough spot though, because I don't think he wants to deal, but I think he's going to have to deal.
Well, it's like this, and this is where I like a lot of people are like, well, I get a lot of questions. I go, well, how do you feel that President Trump wants to do sanctions on the Indians? I'm like, well, you know something? Frankly, they need to stop buying Russian oil. Frankly,
Yeah,
I know
I
what's
agree.
happening is the Indians are buying oil from Russia. They're selling it back to the Europeans. Thereby, the Europeans are bypassing the embargo. I mean, the oil for the Indians is not. It's that whole thing is not a big deal for them money wise. Frankly, they need to stand with the winning side and basically stop supporting the Russians. The days of being a non-aligned country are over. You got to choose sides. As Alan Dulles said, you're either with us or you're against us. There's no middle road for you. And I feel that way about a lot of these countries. Try to take the middle road by not taking sides, but they really do take sides. I mean, we know the non-aligned world during the Cold War were very sympathetic to the Soviets back then. And I think the best thing, what is it? Russia controls about 20% of Ukraine. I think if they were to be, I think what could happen is the face-saving way is, and I hate this, but most likely it'll be like, because it's the whole art of the deal. Trump will say, I want you all out. And then he'll come back and he'll say, I want 15% of Ukraine still.
Yeah.
Trump will come, and they'll arrive at some around 10% or so. They'll come to some, you keep 10% of what you've taken,
Yeah.
and the Ukraine, the rest of it goes back to Ukraine. I mean,
Yeah.
they've already gobbled up Crimea.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know the
That could be
Ukrainians
the concession. You acknowledge Crimea as now a part of Russian territory and give back all the remaining borders of Ukraine. That's what I've always thought would be a possible outcome.
That's probably what he'd like, because Crimea is not just it's a warm water port for the Russians,
and it's been a disaster since 2014. I mean, like that's in an occupied state with Russians moving across controlled lines of. It's been a disaster for them. If they could secure that and then leave everything else in Ukraine, that might be a viable outcome. That Ukraine feels that it maintained its most recent borders, and then Crimea, which has been in flux since 2014, is finally conceded to the Russians. It's a terrible outcome in that you're rewarding Russian aggression, but it might be the way you get to a deal.
Yeah.
And
and the other thing I would add is I agree. It seems like Russia gains from it, but Russia's lost a lot. There's no way to spin it. Even if they gain a small percentage of land, which I think they'll probably will, it still overall is going to be hard to spin as a victory. They lost 800,000 men, a lot of money spent. So even if they get some of the Crimea and some other areas, I just think it's hard to really to spin it as anything other than a quagmire, a disaster.
And let's just exit, because we've got a couple other topics, hot button issues coming. So what do you think is going to be the outcome, Dave, of this summit? What do you think the results will be?
I don't think much of this first meeting, but I think it'll lead to a next meeting and a promise of a potential ceasefire.
Chris?
Same. I think this was to assess where Russia is at, and I think Trump needed to basically put them into a box and not allow them to discuss anything outside of Ukraine. They've agreed to a framework that'll set their staffers into a frenzy to start negotiating, and I think there'll be a second meeting soon based on the framework that was discussed today. But I don't see a ceasefire or anything significant coming out of this first short meeting.
And now let's focus to the Middle East, Israel and Hamas. They're on day 680. And I know, seems like world opinion is, you have the French and the Brits that are, saying we're going to recognize Hamas, blah blah blah, and I wish the French would remember their history about their little annexation games they've done over the years, and we went along with, we basically didn't oppose the whole idea where they annexed Tunisia and Algiers to be part of Greater France across the Mediterranean. It's just like going to Lyons, you're going to Morocco, not Morocco. What's that city in Tunisia? The famous one. What am I thinking of, Dave? But anyway,
Monte Carlo, or
yeah, that's it. I think it's Monte Carlo's in France. Because that's where Lucy won all that money in that episode of I Love Lucy.
I know what you're talking about. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't.
It's from that. It's from what was from that old Humphrey Bogart movie?
Casablanca.
Yeah, it's from Casablanca. Yeah. But anyways, it's like I think we need to let Israel be Israel. Let them do what they need to do. Hamas. We found this out. We've tried. Gaza has had elections, and what did they do? They elected Hamas to represent them, not the PLO. And then these are the same people that October 7th they attacked Israel, unprovoked. Took hostage. They still have hostages. They refuse to hand the hostages over, and they seem to think they want to play victim. It's kind of like reminds me of an old episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where the House of Duras was complaining about, and the Federation ambassador Kaler goes, "Don't play the wounded Klingon with me," And basically, they're hardly the victims. They're the aggressors in this. They are not the victims, And the New York Times has had to walk back many of their articles they've had where Hamas puts out these PR pictures of starving children from Hamas, and then you find out, these guys these children aren't even in Gaza. These aren't even citizens of Gaza. These just they probably took them all screenshots off some of the little Sally Struthers commercials.
Well, Dwight also, remember, Bernie Sanders was asked, I think it was this week, he was asked, does Hamas share any of the blame in the starvation? He said no. He did say no.
Yeah, him and Mamdani also.
I thought that was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you've had a lot of Democrats who refuse to even assign any blame to Hamas.
Yeah.
It's all Israel's fault. Yes, Israel's the one that invaded. Oh, no, that was Gaza. It was Hamas that parachuted in and at a music festival took hostages.
Yeah, and they don't want to upset their left-wing base. It's like DC crime. They have to quibble with statistics. Oh, it's not really an emergency here because they don't want to go against their base. And also, the city's run by Democrats, so they don't want to start saying they've failed.
And DC was safe when they had moderate Democrats, like when you had Mayor Anthony Williams and you had Mayor Adrian Fenty.
Yeah,
both were moderate Democrats. Then you had Vincent Gray, who ran against them. He ran on the campaign of these guys. When he ran against Adrian Fenty, he used a race card against Adrian Fenty, which I think is funny because he was also African American. He goes, he's gentrifying the city, and you're just people with money moving into your city just expands your tax base. Thereby, you don't have to tax so much. Grow the base, not the tax.
Absolutely.
And if the Democrats would understand or get their heads around that, we'd all be in a less taxing situation in Maryland, Chris.
Yeah.
The fact that we just spend more is unbelievable. Like, we never think we need to cut or be more efficient. And the fact that we have a complete loss or a lack of any sense of accountability, that's really the undercurrent to all of this, if you ask me. Whether it's your far left, what you're talking about is an unwillingness or inability to take responsibility or to have any level of accountability in any conversation. You just throw out whatever label you want to put on it, and then with that label, you avoid any responsibility to having to solve the problem or doing anything other than calling somebody a name. And it's shocking how much we've come to accept this as our cities have declined, crime rates have gone up. We've really stifled opportunity, certainly across Maryland, all in the name of what? Reducing levels of accountability, lowering a standard in terms of our civil discourse and how we behave. I can't believe that you have people taking a stand against how we're going to try to improve the lives of DC residents, that we're trying to reduce crime so that they can enjoy their city more, that they don't have to worry about going out after dark. It's crazy that we've lacked.
Although
we've gotten to this
Schumer
point.
says DC is very safe. When he walks around the Capitol, the monuments, the safest part of Washington D.C.
Yeah.
where you have so many undercover and
Yeah.
you got the park police, you got the DC police, it's the most protected. No one's gonna tell Chuck to walk down Massachusetts Avenue a few blocks away from Capitol Hill, then tell me how safe he feels there. Or walk down the other side, on the house side, go down Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast. I'm not saying go past the farmer's market. Tell me how safe you feel at night.
And Dwight, remember, you and I worked in D.C. at a time.
We worked right there in Northeast years ago, Chris, over at Free
by
Congress
Union
Foundation.
Station, behind Union Station, basically.
Yeah. And you wouldn't even recognize the area now because they got these high-rise condos there. And I think the SEC came in the parking lot, which we used to cut through to get to NET from Union Station. But
and the further you went, it got worse, as I recall.
Yeah.
So I was at school at Fort McNair a few years ago, and you want to talk about just a beautiful part of the it could be a beautiful part of the city. The Fort McNair is a beautiful base, and you have Audi Field and you have the Nationals Field nearby. But I would run in the morning sometimes, and I used to joke that those are not people that are up early. That's the night before, So as I would run, that was the night before, still going on, and it was a rough neighborhood. People were regularly. There would be shootings, there was muggings, there was violent crime all around Fort McNair, and it's a shame because it's a beautiful part of the city along the river. If we could just inject the opportunity that's needed there, whether it's gentrification or to take the steps to protect those people so that they can start investing in their own communities. But it's really a shame down there.
We saw that happen after Marion Barry. They had Adrian Fenty was the mayor, and we saw not Adrian Fenty, Anthony Williams.
Well, Sharon Pratt Kelly and then Anthony Williams.
No, you had Sharon Pratt Kelly, then second
she was
coming.
Horrible too, by the way. She was horrible.
Oh yeah, but then you also had the second coming of Marion Barry after her. 2 terms. Marion Barry came back. Remember?
Oh,
Marion
that's
Barry?
right. She was so bad that they brought Marion Barry back. That's right.
And he got 2 terms after that.
That's right.
Was that after the crack in the hooker?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why Rush Limbaugh always called him mayor for life.
Yeah, that's right.
And then after he decided he didn't want to run for mayor, he decided to run for Ward 8 councilman.
That's right.
You know which ward that is? That's the same ward that re-elects Trayvon White.
Yeah.
He got kicked out
for the bribery, taking a bribe.
Yeah.
It's corruption.
And he got elected again.
That's
They
amazing.
kicked him out again. He got elected again. If they kick him out again, I bet and it's that Ward 8. But I tell you this, he does support the federal takeover of DC. He did say he made a comment. He likes the idea of having the National Guard patrolling DC. Because you know why? Because his district, Ward 8, is one of the most violent parts of Washington, D.C. And I'm sure he welcomes more police forces in his district to keep his constituents safe.
Yeah,
Other
that's
than that,
Yeah.
But I mean, DC, and for the longest time, what they used to refer to PG County as? Ward 9 of DC.
Yeah, that's right. Because they moved. A lot of people moved out of, as they gentrified DC. My understanding is a lot of people then moved to PG County.
Yes. But then you also had it wasn't not only gentrification that did that, Dave. Also, as people's incomes grew, because I mean, you had professionals, you had professionals in DC, and as these African American families were upwardly mobile, a lot of them moved to Montgomery County or Prince George's County. Some even went as far as Charles County, because Charles County, you're back then. $200,000 got you a mansion in Charles County. While in Prince George's County, $200,000 gets you something bigger than a bread box, and in Montgomery County, $200,000 it gets you something much smaller than a bread box.
Yeah.
And that's, I am all for home ownership. People, bootstraps, moving on up, as like George Jefferson, the ideal entrepreneur who basically worked hard and moved on up to the east side.
Yeah.
Um,
In fact,
and
and a deluxe apartment in the sky high. Yeah, you're right.
well, no, but here's the
Um,
thing, a lot
I
of
grew up
African
loving that shit.
Americans could learn from
I think Chris
George
is too
Jefferson.
young to remember our Jeffersons.
Nope. No, I'm not as young as you think. I love that show.
Okay.
Is it,
Yeah.
and the other show that really hits home the message of working hard was the Cosby Show.
Yeah. Well, that's why it was sad to see Theo passing away a couple months ago. That was very sad. He was young.
He was like the juvenile delinquent kid on the Cosby Show.
Oh wow.
Well,
Okay.
none of the kids were really juvenile delinquents, but he wasn't as smart as the rest of the family.
Okay, yeah.
And then plot convenience, they gave him dyslexia, and then all of a sudden he's like in a master's program at NYU when the show ended.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, he graduated. He was gonna start that. But I mean, that was a much better show than the other spin-off, A Different World.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I never got into the Cosby Show, to be honest, but
the spin-off show was very political. I remember they did an episode during the Gulf War, and you got one of the characters. He goes, he didn't join the army to go fight a war. He wanted to be an engineer and go back to his neighborhood. And I'm thinking, like, when you sign up, there's always a possibility of a war breaking out.
Yeah,
just because we didn't have a war before the Gulf War, doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. I mean,
that's true.
And
it was a quick. It was relatively quick war, really. I mean, it was just a matter of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we expelled Saddam Hussein. By the way, for all you lefties, we didn't keep Kuwait after we expelled the Iraqis.
Yeah, I know.
Part of me thinks, maybe we should have kept it. All the oil. Just think, it could have been the state of.
And Kuwait and those Gulf states are just taken off. I mean, they are powerful, rich as can be. I mean, it's wow, you guys. It's amazing, successful.
Unfortunately, a lot of them, is it Bahrain where Al Jazeera is based out of? Bahrain,
Qatar. I think they're Qatar.
Qatar, yeah, they are very pro Hamas.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that's where Hamas leadership is. Maybe the Israelis should fire a few missiles into Qatar just to take out the Hamas leadership.
Maybe they don't want to widen.
We got a lot of U.S. personnel in Qatar.
Yes, I know. Qatar was. I don't know if you. I mean, I know you probably don't remember Mark Russell. He used to do political satire on PBS. Oh, yeah. One of the things he did. One of the comments he once made was, he goes, "Dan Quayle's. When Dan Quayle becomes president, he's going to invade Qatar because how dare you use the Q without having a U next to it? Because Qatar is there's no U after the Q, and he's like, how dare you do that?"
That's right.
But we are, we're kind of talking about this anyways, the DC takeover, the National Guard. I think it's a long time coming. I think let's bring back the control board.
I do too. And the other thing to remember is Biden's role in this, because Biden appointed this guy named Matthew Graves to be U.S. attorney, and he was a woke social justice warrior, and he didn't like to prosecute. And when he would prosecute, he would go with the lowest possible sentence to prosecute. And so Biden deserves a lot of the blame for this. Now, fortunately, you got Jeanine Pirro. She's going to come in and start prosecuting. But Biden should have done this. He should have protected the people of D.C. He should have used federal resources, should have appointed a real prosecutor. But he didn't. And now Trump has to clean it up. So,
well, you did have, Jeanine Pirro. Remember, it was a DOJ employee that called the National Guard fascist, and then they threw a Subway sandwich at him.
Yeah.
And by the way, I used to like Subway sandwiches. I don't like them anymore. They don't taste the same. I don't know what happened.
I saw Subway today. Not to digress, Chris is going to be turned off, but really quickly. I ate lunch today, and I passed the Subway, and I went to this place, Burger 7, $20 for a hamburger, onion rings, and a drink. $20.
Were they using Kobe beef for your?
I don't know. I guess it's a high-end burger place, but for fast food, $20? Yeah, that's ridiculous. It was like sticker shock when he told me $20, and I was like, oh, okay. So it's
I think
20
a
something.
$5 foot long. I think it's good because of the price.
Yeah, I agree with you. I should have done the Subway in that case. I agree.
Subway has also gotten more because I remember
Gotten
when
expensive.
we have a Subway on Goddard's campus, and I remember we were there. I was there once after the pandemic, and some lady goes, I used to be able to get out of here for $10. Now it's costing me $15."
Yeah.
It's changed the flavor. That's why it's not as good as it used to be. When it was a bargain, you appreciated you were getting a bargain that tastes good. When you're paying a lot, now you expect more.
I mean, they used to have really good pizza, but now they went to the flatbed bread pizza, which is horrible.
Yeah. Well, to your question earlier about the takeover, this is overdue. The fact that when you bring them in, what you're really doing is you're not bringing them in to conduct law enforcement activities. You're just allowing that law enforcement to go and do law enforcement with them backing them up. And it provides depth, and it provides them a bit more layer. And that layering of capability allows police officers to go and do some policing. And it gets back to basic accountability. When you prosecute people and you hold them accountable, that acts as a specific and a general deterrent effect. And when you say all bets are off, we're going to try to view this from a social lens, that we're going to try to rehabilitate everybody where they are and bring out a social worker rather than a police officer, you're asking for this outcome.
Yeah. I did. A lot of people tell me, sometimes they go, oh, they probably have some psycho. I know, sometimes people are just bad people. Stop making an excuse like, oh, he grew up in a bad home or he has psychological issues. No, he's just a bad person. Not everyone who's a horrible person has some psychiatric problems. Sometimes people are just bad. It's kind of like Jimmy
Even
Buffett
if they have
song.
a psychiatric problem, they can't put other people at risk. And I think we've lost sight of that. We've become so fixated on the possibility that there's some intersectionality of what's happening that in that moment you have to protect other people. And if that person is putting other people at risk by either committing crime or their behavior, then you have to step in and contain that, whether it's by detaining them, questioning them, or in some cases arresting and prosecuting people and putting them in jail.
And I am so glad they are taking down the homeless encampment over off of when you get off Whitehurst Freeway, right by Fletcher's Boathouse. Because I went to GW. They've been there since when I was at GW, and that was like 1993. And they were there, and now they're finally gone. It really is a blight on our community. It's like I remember when I first saw a panhandler in Montgomery County. I'm like, this should be happening here. This is America. We're not some third world despotic country, where you have panhandlers in the corner or people knocking on your glass asking for money. And some of them are that aggressive. I've seen them tap on the glass asking for money. And, I feel for them because I think, some of them might be really homeless. But then there was that Washington Post article about 15, 20 years ago about a homeless guy in Bethesda. He'd come into the neighborhood, he'd park his car. He was making almost $5,000 a week, tax free. And he told the reporter, he goes, yeah, the winter, I've got a house in Florida and I go to Florida for the winter.
Very industrious.
He comes up here, when the weather warms up. So he's probably here from April to end of September. And then he goes spends the holidays in Florida in his house.
Well, I'm a little skeptical of people making a lot of money that way because, for example, near me in Falls Church, in Merrifield, there's this guy. I always see him on the median strip, and he's got his sign and he waves and all. But I don't think he's probably making that much. Most people, I would assume, just drive by, and plus you're out in the hot sun, and I don't know.
You'd be surprised.
Maybe it's a scam, and maybe he's doing okay, but I just don't think there's much. I wouldn't think, from a business standpoint, I wouldn't think there's that much.
Okay, funny you should mention, I had a friend of mine in high school. We were talking about this very same subject about, and we didn't. And this before we had panhandlers everywhere. This is like when you went into DC and you saw the panhandlers, right? My friend
Yeah.
goes, Dwight, I bet I could go through this cafeteria, ask everyone for a quarter, a nickel, and I have like I have close to $5 by the time. He had $20 by the time he got done. He'd ask people for nickels or dimes, and some people would give him quarters. Somebody would say, "Oh, I only have $1 here. Take this," right?
Yeah.
And if he can do that in a high school cafeteria, and that was for less, and it was like about 30 minutes. Lunch was 30 minutes, so it's probably less than 30 minutes. Okay. And you've got a finite crowd of people, while when you're on the road, there's a lot of people, and a lot of people don't carry cash. They'll hand them $5, $20, whatever, like, what are you gonna do? Have the guy, hey, can you break a 20? I'll give you $1, But that's one of the things, and it's a great thing what President Trump's doing. And he's not clearing these people out, by the way, as the left would like you to believe. They're being offered shelter, mental, psychiatric evaluation, and so on.
I think most importantly, the focus is on crime. Those same people, yes, it's maybe inconvenient and they're dead, but they are the victims of crime. They're outside of the normal protections of society.
Yep.
So when you let this go unregulated, you have a compounding effect of not just innocent victims, but they're victimizing one another. And I think the fact that you go in and you clean this out entirely, looking at those encampments, looking at the drug use, looking at where areas of high crime, it's going to have a beneficial effect for everybody, whether it's visitors, residents, or some of these individuals that needed to be moved out of a space where they themselves have been victimized.
Very true. And we are at the end of our show. We're at the point where we do our final thoughts. And we'll start with you, Chris. First of all, tell us how people can learn more about you, your website. And
well, thanks for letting me come on. I really enjoyed this. We had talked about it, having a chance to do this. So yes, my website is burnettforcongress.com. It's all lowercase, one word. There you can read a little bit about my background, having just retired from active duty, and then my decision to run for Congress being where I'm most familiar. I've spent 22 years advising generals and commanders and leading Marines on the ground. This is where I felt like I could make an impact and actually influence some of these conversations we're having, whether it's about supporting law enforcement, accountability, or foreign policy. These are all things that I've learned quite a bit about and like to pursue further. So check out the website. Sure. And then I've been spending quite a bit of time at the Montgomery County Fair this week, and I'll continue to get out through the fall to meet as many folks as I can, whether it's at the fair, the parades, and some of these other events. So thanks again. I've really enjoyed it. And
everyone who goes to your website should leave at least $1. At the very least, leave $1.
That's right.
Yeah.
If everybody leaves $1, not unlike your friend in the lunchroom,
exactly.
I will have what I need to send Delaney back to her mansion in CD8.
This is Montgomery County, so let's do $5 for Chris. Go on his site. Just give him $5. Give Chris $5 for,
Delaney, she's going to spend $6 million of her own money to run against me.
And let me just say, people spend more than $5 on a coffee at Starbucks. Dave spends more than $5 at the burger place.
I know. I spent $20 for a fast food meal.
So skip a cup of coffee and give Chris $5.
Yeah, it's the same thing for my book. A lot of times it's only $15, but a lot of times people just give me the 20, and I'll try to make change, and they say, forget it, just keep the 20. So that happens. You're right. It's easier sometimes just give me a 20.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Dave? You mentioned your website. What time are you going to be at the fair tomorrow so people can come out and see and say hi?
Well, I'm actually going to head there for the rest of this evening to help them close up, let them tie it. So I'll be there tonight until 10 o'clock, and then I will be there most of the day. I'll try to get there early to help them open up. I'll be there midday, and I'll definitely be there tomorrow night to help them wrap up for the week. So really anytime tomorrow, stop by the Montgomery County GOP tent. I'll be happy to say hello and talk you through my background and how I'm going to flip CD6.
Yeah, go down to the fair. By the way, I don't know if you've gone down. They have the candy barn still this year at the fair.
Yes. My kids love candy. They pay by the pound.
Yeah. And do they have then there's this other place where you get, it's the Dairy House. You can get like fried curd. cheese curds. Yeah.
Might have to see that tomorrow.
They're almost as good as the ones at Culver's.
Huh.
Dave, final thoughts.
Check out my Substack and continue to crank out columns, and you can also catch my blog on the Substack. And just one quick note about the book, the aforementioned book I just referenced. I'll be quick. It just shows that sometimes life imitates art. Because in my book, The Fictitious Governor of Virginia, he goes to Hopewell, Virginia, and he stops at this barbecue place called Saucy's in Hopewell. Well, on Saturday, I'm reading the paper. Winsome Sears on the campaign trails in Hopewell. She stopped at Saucy's to campaign. So I just thought that's very ironic. I don't think anyone from her campaign read my book, but they went to Saucy's to campaign. So just like the fictitious governor in my novel. So check it out, and I think you'll like the book. But otherwise, I'm doing okay. Hopefully, we'll have a good weekend. And again, check out.
It's called Big Cheese, not the Dairy Farm.
Okay.
Susan is really good.
But that's about it.
Cool. Thank you, Dave. My final thoughts, a couple things. The Red, White, and Blue dinner is coming up for the Maryland GOP, and that is going to be on September 17th. Our speaker is the EPA Secretary, Lee Zeldin. And come one, come all, get your tickets before the early bird deadline ends. Tickets are $185, I think, for early bird. Then they jump all the way up to $225 after early bird ends. So get your tickets today. And if you want to sit, the Montgomery County Republican Club is putting together a table. You can get a ticket for $175. Go to mcgopclub.com to buy a ticket to sit at our table. And then we are in election season coming up. If you are interested in running for office, go to the republicantoolbox.com. There you'll find everything you need to know from soup to nuts on running for office. Never run for office before? Well, good, because if we've got a step-by-step plan there, show you how to run for office, how to develop a campaign plan, come up with crafting your issues. We've already got sample position papers and issues there for you to just use. Just swap out and personalize it with a little bit of your details, but we got the guts, and all that content is from research done, and a lot of it comes from the Heritage Foundation, Competitive Enterprise Institute, the Reason Foundation, and a number of other right of center think tanks. And that's about it. Oh, by the way, Social Security turns 90.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the crown jewel of FDR's New Deal.
Yeah.
Real quick, final thoughts. What do you think about raising the retirement age from right now to make it like 71 or 72?
I think you have to do it. Go ahead.
I mean, I'll even compromise. Raising it to 68 that'd be my compromise, 68,
Yeah, and just grandfather in for the older folks like us. It doesn't really affect us, but if you're, young coming up, then I think it's a good idea. It was created at a time when 65 was the lifespan in 1935.
Yeah, my dad would have been 93 today.
Oh.
Yeah. But, Chris, any thoughts on Social Security?
Don't want to touch that, but I think
it's a mess.
Any way that we can make what we have go farther, I would certainly want to take a close look at, because it can't continue on the rate that we're going at. So I would want to take a really hard look at whether that would help let it last a little longer and help a few more people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good night.
And I'll praise FDR. I think Social Security is a great program. It just can't be on autopilot. You can't just let it go. You're going to have to make your changes. And Reagan and Tip O'Neill in the 80s, they compromised and helped save the program for longer. And that's what's going to happen.
I'll tell you this. I think Social Security is because what is it? What is it, about 15% of your income goes to Social Security every year, or more, or 20%? If you take that money and you invest that money in the market, you'd be rolling in money. I think Social Security, it should be Yes, Social Security, there are people who can't afford to save, 15% of their income. We're talking a lifetime. If you start when you're 20 and just put away $10 a month,
Well,
every
but we do have that with IRAs that people can start. And I remember Bush's plan was to partial privatization of Social Security. But
honestly, I think that's what they should. I think we should talk about this next week. But I think we should do this, right? If you're a Gen X or a millennial, half your pay goes into your individual savings account that you can't touch until you're retired, but the other half goes into the Social Security pot. And then as they get older, they can start putting more into their personal savings and less in. So thereby,
not a big fan of taking people's money from them and holding it, but I think there's probably a pathway there where we can incentivize.
Well, basically that money,
market.
yeah, and that money you're holding is actually going to be your money,
Yeah.
So if you don't spend it all after you retire, you can leave that money to your kids.
Yeah, I still like giving people choices.
Yeah, they'd have a choice. They could have a choice. They could put in whichever index fund they'd want to put it in, frankly.
Yeah, okay. This might be a good topic for an entire session.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyways, good night, everyone. Have fun at the fair. And luckily, this is one of the few rare fairs where it hasn't been like 100 degrees every day there.
It's been great. My kids have loved it. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, enjoy. Thank you for all you do for helping close the fair down. But good night, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's go down to Masoni, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go down to Masoni's, we'll have a good old time. Homemade pasta at Masoni's, sauce is fresh,